Have you seen all of the new laser technology that is available out there? So many different things to check out and so many different things to look into. So how do you know which one is right for you? Well, I've already made a couple of purchases, some that are good, some maybe not so good. And I have a new laser in my studio, the xTool F1. I've been playing with it for about the last month now, and I have to say I'm kind of excited about this one. Now, if you're familiar with some of my work, you know that I like to hand engrave. So I'm not looking for a laser to do the engraving for me, but rather to mark my metal. And the xTool F1 is perfect for that in a jewelry studio. So let's dive in now and take a look and see how I use this particular laser in my jewelry studio. Doing a production run of designs is very simple with the xTool F1. First, I'm going to lay out the design and position my piece. Then, using this mounted angle bracket, I can help position the next piece and tell the machine to start. Now, depending on the settings, engraving or marking can happen very quickly. Right now, this is marking sterling silver in real time. So let's see what happens when we speed it up a bit. I like to program the machine to go slow and to make a couple of passes. This is going to give me a little deeper engraving on this machine. That is going to help my design to have a little more longevity as well as a darker appearance. Now you can see here I have two matching pieces. I just need to punch a hole and hang them on my ear wires. Creating a design is pretty straightforward. You can either use your own image or any one of a number of provided graphics. Here I'm going to insert a flower. Next, I need to tell the machine how to process the image, engraving in this case, and which laser to use as it has two of them. Because I'm engraving on metal, I need to use the 2-watt infrared laser. I also need full power, so 100. Next is the speed. Slower is better on metal so that it has the time necessary to really mark our metal. I can even add a small border. This is going to be great for cutting guides. And finally, I will tell the machine how large to make this image. Using the framing option, I can see where the design will be placed on my piece. Once I'm happy with the positioning, I can tell the machine to process the image and watch the magic happen. The engraving that happens on metal is very shallow. If you follow me and know some of my work, then you know I like to hand engrave items. But sometimes transferring that image can be a little bit difficult and cumbersome, and then I accidentally wipe it off. And I no longer have to worry about that with this machine. Now I can mark my metal and begin to engrave. For this cuff, I marked the metal and then I did my interior piercing and engraving. Made it very simple. Marking the metal this way is also wonderful for marking designs that are going to be pierced out with my jeweler's saw. Again, I no longer have to worry about my design rubbing off or having a cumbersome paper design to contend with. For images that are not going to receive a lot of wear against the skin or clothing, such as this particular set that will become earrings and a pendant, I only need to mark the metal with one pass, like the bats. But if it is going to possibly rub, I want to give it multiple passes for a deeper and darker impression. Notice that the laser light runs around the design multiple times. That is going to make it deeper and darker. The F1 has both a 2-watt infrared and 10-watt blue light or diode laser. This means that it can both engrave and cut out various materials without having to stop and change to the laser heads. The F1 comes with the necessary accessories like this grid plate, and this is going to help protect the bottom portion of your machine. One accessory I was most excited about was the RA2 rotary attachment. While there are a number of ways to use this, I was most interested in holding my rings and bracelets for both interior and exterior marking. I just needed to make certain that everything was aligned properly and in focus. And then creating a design that wraps all the way around a ring was actually very simple to do. Now, people have asked me about the durability of the marking. This dragon was created with 2 slow and high-powered passes. That means it's not going to just rub off, but it will lighten up with this 400 grit sanding eraser. Now, if I keep going, I will be able to remove that design, but I will also have to remove quite a bit of metal. So as you can see, the design is lightening up, but it's not going away. And that is because it did engrave just a little bit deeper than surface level. Marking or engraving on stainless steel is great. Just as with precious metals, I like to go slow and with high power and multiple passes. One thing I found amazing was how fine of detail I could get. I can engrave on the edge of this 1.4 millimeter thick bar with 1 millimeter tall text, and it is just as dark and crisp as the larger text on the front. The machine will actually engrave text 0.3 millimeters tall with accuracy and good clarity, so it's actually very fine. So as you can see, I have a lot of different uses for this here in my studio. I love that I can mark on my metal, but you will also see that it's not a very deep engrave. And people ask me all the time, can this cut and engrave metal? Well, it will engrave to the extent that yes, it is going a little bit deeper into the metal. However, it is not going to be very deep and it will not cut your metal. In order for that to happen, you are going to have to step up to a fiber laser, which also comes with a steep price increase. In my studio, I just needed to be able to mark my metal, 1 for my engraving, 2 for pieces that I'm piercing out, and 3 maybe here and there for a couple of decorative elements. You'll also see that sometimes I use alternative materials such as that acrylic. And the thing I like about this laser is that it has both of the laser heads in one machine. I don't have to change anything out, so I can do the engraving and the cutting all at once, and it happens relatively quickly. Now, can this design be rubbed off? Depending on what your settings are, yes, it can be. When I'm using metal, I like to go slow with a higher power, and I will do multiple passes as you saw here in my demonstrations. That is going to allow me to get a little bit deeper into that metal and also with a little darker marking. As I've said, I have multiple lasers here in my studio and none of them came with any kind of eye protection or air purification systems, and this one did, and I liked that. Now I did step up to that deluxe system and that came with some additional options such as the extension slide table and that rotary tool, which is one of my favorite features. Now there are a lot of uses for these lasers. In my studio, I concentrate on jewelry and I wanted to see how I could use that in here. There are a lot of videos that are out there that kind of describe some of the other things that it can do. So if you guys have any more questions, make sure you drop those down in the comments down below and I will get back to you. You can also rest assured there will be a lot more videos coming up with this laser featured as I do some other processes here in my studio. So make sure you guys subscribe, ring that bell, and mark that you want the notifications so you don't miss any of those. If this is something that you are interested in, I do have a coupon code for my US viewers, so check the link down below, and once you visit my link, you will be able to copy that coupon code and apply it to your purchase. I will see you guys soon, so happy creating.